Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Carla Nelson, creator of Black Fashion World Foundation, and I am so excited tonight to have a special person with me. All-time former NFL linebacker, two-time Super Bowl champion, a Michigan State Hall of Famer, and now president of G3 Sports, Carl Banks. Carl
Hi,
Banks,
Carla. How
how
are
are
you?
you?
I'm doing
Thank you
great.
for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to hear from you and have you here for all our guests to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
I'm really excited to be here.
oh, good. And look, I see you are in your studio now. I guess I should call it studio.
Well, it's my showroom slash studio, yes.
Okay, okay. So you give us a little bit of a tour tonight, just a little bit.
Well, I don't, well, my computer won't move, but I got some images, that'll kind of represent what we're doing.
That's all right. That's all right. So we're gonna start, and I have some pictures of you. Let me see if I can get those up really quick here. Look at Carl Banks. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. So, I was just talking about the fact that you are a two-time, if I have it right, two-time Super Bowl champion. I think I
Yes.
have some pictures of the ring tonight. We get to show that out. I haven't ever seen, I would honestly say, for people that are going to see, I haven't ever seen one that close up. Even if it isn't a picture, it's a treat for me. I'm like, oh my gosh. But you have two of them. And then you're a
Yeah, I
Michigan
have two.
State Hall of Famers. You're originally from
Yes.
Michigan. Okay.
Yep.
All
Grew up in
right.
Flint, Michigan.
Wonderful. So let's jump right in. And I know there's a little bit of a delay, but this picture here, about how old were you in this picture?
That was probably my rookie year with the Giants. And, the irony of that picture is that I was one of the first guys that signed with the starter brand. So that starter satin jacket um, was like the thing to have. And, as the universe would have it, I was able to get the rights to that brand again, and we relaunched it, and it's doing well now.
Yeah, we're gonna find out from you what your secret to that is. And this looks like, tell us about this picture.
That is at an NFL event, probably celebrating some milestone I got in the licensing world with the NFL. I think I was probably 2 years into my license as a outerwear licensee at that time, and I think I had just gotten an award from NFL for being one of the top licensees.
Wow. I tell you what, oh, look at this right here.
Yeah,
Linebacker.
yeah, you didn't want to be in the way of that.
You know, in researching, I saw you. It was one of the videos and how you were pulling the leg back, and I said, you know what? He was pretty fierce on the field. Now you're pretty fierce in fashion. We're gonna find out what
Yeah,
your secrets are. Oh my gosh! And look at yeah. Let me see. Let me
yeah,
pull. People can see that.
yeah. That's my chairman and partner, Morris Goldfarb, here at G3. Um, this is at Fashion Delivers. That was a couple years ago.
Hey, yeah. Here's this picture. How much does that thing weigh?
That one is that you can't even put your hand in your pocket. Now that's a ring I got. Now that's a Michael Strahan ring right there because I'm on the Giants broadcast team. They gave the broadcasters rings as well, and
Nice.
that one sits so high you can't even put your hand in your pocket.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So this was a fashion event. Okay, tell us about this event.
So this is Kids Fashion Delivers in Manhattan. It's a big fundraiser for basically all of the majors in the industry. We all, did our part, and I was being honored at this dinner as well, hosted by myself and Heidi Klum, as a matter of fact. And it was to raise a lot of money for children's charities, and it was such a great event. So it was a major gala. It was incredible.
Mm, yeah, look.
There she is, 2014. Yeah.
Wow. It looks like another celebration. Oh my.
Well, this was a celebration of my starter collection. We launched it in New Orleans 6 years ago. It was our big launch party, and we took over a whole space down in New Orleans during the Super Bowl. No, it was during, yes, it was during Super Bowl.
Hey. And is this, let's see, is this your design team? Who is this team?
So this is my staff. But this is a project that I'm working on. And for those of you in New York, if you know ice cream, then you know Mikey Likes Ice Cream, right? So Mikey Likes Ice
Oh,
Cream Mikey is just an incredible person, but he is a genius when it comes to creating flavors. And so I'm working on a project now, and I'm actually just telling the world right now. It's kind of a food philanthropy project that I have going on, and so we're developing some flavors, some ice cream flavors. And Mikey, if you guys have never been to Mikey Likes It Ice Cream on the Lower East Side or in Harlem, you have to go. But
okay.
Mikey is, in my opinion, the modern day Augustus Jackson. Do you know who
Wow.
Augustus Jackson is?
No, but that sounds like he's
Little known
major.
Black history fact.
Talk to us.
Um, the black man who was named the godfather of ice cream is Augustus Jackson. He worked in the White House and he developed ice cream. He was the first guy. He didn't create ice cream, but he's the creator of flavors in ice cream. He was the first to create flavors in ice cream. He's from Philadelphia,
Okay.
worked in the White House and as part of their cook staff, but he was the developer of flavors of ice cream. And Mikey, who I celebrate on a daily basis because he's just so he's
Yes.
genius when it comes to creating flavors. Like we sat and I talked about some of the things that I wanted to create as part of this project. and he started rattling off ingredients and things of that nature, and it's just phenomenal. So I called him, and he truly is the Augustus Jackson of this century, because he is just an incredible entrepreneur. But when it comes to flavors, and I don't think there's anybody that can touch him. Anybody.
We'll have to get an interview with him. Maybe the
You
three of
you
us.
definitely should. Maybe we can do it over ice cream too. I
That
mean,
works.
but
I like ice cream.
he literally, and this is one of our brands here at G3 is DKNY,
Hmm.
and they just commissioned him 2 weeks ago to create a New York themed ice cream. And DKNY is so synonymous with black and white. Um, and so and Mikey's like, okay, let me create a black and white cookie ice cream. So he created, it was just incredible. But for those who don't know him, you can go to his Instagram, and it's Mikey Likes It, and you'll see
Okay.
just some of the projects that he works on. He's just, I can't tell you guys enough. He's not a secret, but a lot of people are like, wow, I didn't know that was him. He's just the most incredible guy. So I'm honored to be partnering with him and creating uh, a project that is strictly for charity and to raise money for various causes.
You are just wonderful. And bringing that to light. Thank you for that. So I hope everybody, if you didn't get that, you'll go back and listen to this. Get that information. We're going to talk more because I love history. So definitely the gentleman in the White House and Mikey. I have to go visit Mikey now.
Yeah, Augustus Jackson, people, write it down and
That's
Google
the
it.
stuff.
That's a
I'll put
back.
that
That's a
in.
Black History moment. A little known Black History fact.
I spelled it right, but I put it in the chat so everybody can see that. So you can quickly reference this. Thank you for telling it. And we look
Mhm.
forward to that project. And thank you for sharing that with us, a little bit of insight. So, and this looks like you might be on 7th Avenue. Where are you in this picture here?
Yeah,
Is this
that's
the
that looks
segue?
like 7th Avenue and 37th, right by my office.
Mm. So talk to us about that. And I have a video, but talk to us about that segue into fashion. I mean, two-time Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer. Um, what was the genesis of that for you?
Well, I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and those who know anything about the Detroit area, we were always about that fashion life. And so when I got to New York, it's the fashion capital of the world. I
Yeah.
started. This was probably my rookie year when I started to learn uh, my way around New York, because New York was so intimidating that I would pick places to drive into the city like 8 o'clock at night where there was no traffic and I didn't have to deal with getting lost. And I was learning my way around the city, but I always wanted to find like where Barney's was, Bergdorf, Macy's, and all the different boutiques I read about, because I was into the fashion magazines and I wanted to be able to create or buy apparel. But then when I finally got my bearings in New York, I would go to some of these stores and they didn't have anything that fit, right? So um, I decided to just start creating my own outerwear collection. It was
Mhm.
just for me and friends, and I found a sample house right around the corner from my office here on 37th Street, Bettina Fashion. They were sample house. So I was just creating some fashion pieces and it's getting some really good reviews. And then, I got into sports um, in 1987, 1988. And they were the first ones. And this is something a lot of people that are younger don't know, that but what you see from Nike on the sidelines and what they've created in terms of fashion and things of that nature. Starter was the trailblazer. They created the template
Mhm.
for how sports is experienced in terms of, fandom and having your fandom be a wearable experience. So
Mhm.
I was a starter athlete, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with David Beckerman, the founder of Starter, and just picking his brain and trying to understand, what his passion was for this, and how he wanted to transform, how people viewed sports. Literally, like,
Mm.
people say you eat with your eyes first. Well, that's what you do when you experience your sports too, because it's a spectator sport. But how do you take and aggregate all of that fandom and turn it into a wearable experience? And he did it. And he did it better than anyone has ever done it. Um, and so, in doing so, I said, boy, when I grow up, I want to be just like David. And that started my journey into the fashion industry. And in my segue, and hopefully we'll get into how people can enter business
Mhm.
and follow their passions
Yeah.
and do something meaningful, because the opportunities are there if you know how to navigate and to take advantage of those. So I said I wanted to be like David when I grew up, because he meant everything to sports. Sports um, apparel, sports licensed apparel was ultimately created by David Beckerman and Starter. And they were a part of every major sporting event, every major championship. If you go back, you'll see nothing but Starter on the court, off the court. And the beautiful part about the Starter brand, and what I love so much about it, is it's not just a fan thing. See, because there are two types of fans, right? There are fans that go sit in the stands and they're hardcore, right? But
Mhm.
then we've got guys that where sports and entertainment intersect. It always has. That culture didn't start with Nike. If you go Google starter jackets, you'll see LL Cool J, you'll see Run DMC, you'll see Chuck D to this day still wear starter. And then you look at the current issue of Rolling Stone, not a current issue, but a recent issue of Rolling Stone. You got Kendrick Lamar in a White Sox starter jacket. So the intersection of sports and fashion has always been there. So you have fans that root hardcore, but then you have uh, pop culture that loves their sports also. So
Mhm.
you can find any major entertainer, they can tell you the sport that they like. You see Drake's affinity for sport. You see Tyler, the creator. You've got Chance the Rapper. It's so many, and Nike has done so many different collaborations with these guys that it's the lines have always been blurred, but it's completely fused now. But it was like that. You had campaigns with celebrities with the starter brand that was just so unique. From Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff, Funk Flex was part of a campaign. There was just so many different intersections. So I say that to say um, my experience with the brand and me wanting to be a part of that was just something that just kind of drove me to really create something unique, find a point of view that nobody was exploring. And for me, it was in outerwear. I
Mhm.
noticed that no one was doing NFL, NBA, hockey, baseball, or college leather jackets. So what I wanted to do was to create leather jackets for a market. Starter wasn't doing it, that wasn't their thing. So I created in a sample room every off day. I would spend Monday and Tuesday in a sample room creating uh, leather jackets with team logos on it. And when I had my collection ready, I went to the NFL first and I said, listen, nobody's doing leather jackets. I have this collection. Um, can you give me a license? And so, NFL was a little apprehensive, but I'm a player who wanted to do something, right?
Right.
I wasn't asking for a handout. I just wanted the opportunity. And the fact that I'm asking for an opportunity in a space in the market that didn't exist gave them a chance to say, okay, we're going to support you because not only are you a player, we want to see you have some success. So they gave me a license, and I always tease them now, 3 decades later, that they gave me a license to fail because they gave me big and tall,
Mm,
suede only jackets, right? And so I made it work. Like Dr. J's, Elliot Patesh was one of my first customers. Foot Locker was one of my first customers, and it did well. So I went back and I said, okay, the suede is doing well. People want more. So they gave me leather. So it was leather and suede, big and tall. And then the next year, they gave me all sizes in leather. But then at that point, my business started to scale, and I needed a partner in it. And so the NFL said to me, listen, we love what you're doing, but we're also in the business of collecting royalties. So we believe your business can be bigger, but you've got to find a partner that can help you scale your business. And I was excited about that because now I got a chance to meet with different people in the industry, but I also have a proven track record, right? So I'm
mhm,
not just coming into a company and saying, hey, listen, I got this idea. I need you to, to work with me on it. And it was the interesting thing about it was I met with a few people, and this industry can be very grimy at times, that I just I didn't feel the energy, right? And I'm saying, I've built something. I have a track record. I'm not going to let somebody just run over me. And my business partner, who has since passed on, Michael Cohen, who actually helped me navigate the right partners, and he was a label salesman in the garment industry, so he knew everybody. And he said, you know what? I think I know who can help you out. Um, the chairman of G3, Morris Goldfarb, is the number one, G3 Apparel is the number one outerwear manufacturer in the world. I can set up a meeting. I can't give you any guarantees because, he had just taken his company public. He took it over for his father. They built it, right? So my first conversation with him was, I don't know if I want to be in business with an athlete, is what he said. And he didn't say it in an arrogant way. He just said, listen, my father built this business. I'm, responsible for it. And I can't be in business with somebody who's going to be in the newspaper all the time, getting in trouble because this is my father's business. And I said, I got you. And I said, I have a business already. I just need someone to help me grow the business. And the the value proposition that I brought to him is the model that exists to this day at G3. That value was the fact that you can brand outerwear and it gave you more real estate, more equity
mhm,
at retail. So he had just sold, I don't know, 1 million bomber jackets, Top Gun jackets, right? So he had this bronze statue and he was doing good, but his world was changing because it was a commodity. right? So it was a race to the bottom who could make a black and brown jacket the cheapest, right? And whoever could make it the cheapest got the volume from retailers. Well, you lose margin on that, right? And every year it's a struggle to try to get your product placed again because everybody saw his formula. And so what he did, he said to me is after about 5 meetings, he says, okay, I'm going to give it a shot, but I need a commitment that you're going to be here. You're going to work your business and we'll give it a try. And he said, listen, outerwear is not easy. There's a reason why people only make black and brown leather jackets. He says, now for me, I got to go get my factories to be able to make 32 colors times 4 different teams. So no blue is the same, no red is the same. Every team has its own unique color, but he was willing to make that investment because now he has a brand that he can go to JCPenney with and say, okay, there's only black, but now I can give you X, right? So it helped me grow my business. It helped me build a staff of 60 people, not including sales. And as we got into this, what he realized also is that the relationships that came with sports could also benefit his business. So Michael Cohen, very good friends with Andy Hilfiger. And Tommy was a big sports fan, right? And so I got a chance to meet Tommy and spend time with him. And he knew G3, but he knew it as a black and brown leather company, but they did the best jackets ever. So Tommy's like, do you think G3 would make leather jackets for Tommy Hilfiger? And so I, facilitated that meeting. And Tommy Hilfiger became the first license for G3. It was kind of an unofficial because we were manufacturing for them. Excuse me. We were manufacturing for them, but we were also selling into our distribution channel. Now, all of a sudden, everybody that was competing for the commodity of a black and brown, he had Tommy Hilfiger. Now Tommy Hilfiger gets a whole nother level of respect and placement at retail. And then from there, it was Kenneth Cole, it was Kohan. Today, it's DKNY, it's Tommy Hilfiger, and the business has grown. But as my business grew and I became the #1 outerwear manufacturer in sports, I go back to my original goal is to be like David Beckerman. That means I want to be important in t-shirts, in hats, in jackets, in women's apparel, because nobody was doing women's apparel when I launched my G3 for Her by Carl Banks. It was, I'm sure you've heard the phrase shrink it and pink it. That's
I
pretty
heard you
much,
talking about that.
yeah, that was pretty much the ladies' apparel in sports. It was a man's garment that they just, scaled down and they made it pink. And because G3 had entered into the ladies' apparel business, I had access to all of the different fashion trends. And so what I had the opportunity to do, and I still to this day, to be able to tap into what's trending and then see how I can interpret that into team sports. So it's just not the basic. And we've evolved it into some pretty cool stuff. We have, Calvin Klein is one of the licensees, one of the licenses that G3 has, and Calvin, Calvin, I don't know if it's Calvin Sport or Calvin Athleisure for women it's only second behind Lululemon. So when it comes to athleisure, I got the cheat code, right? So as trends changed, I could put those pieces that are relevant in regular fashion into sports so that people can feel comfortable and feel fashionable. Like I said, fandom is a wearable experience, but fandom should also be a fashionable experience. You don't
Absolutely.
have to look like you're going to the stadium every day of the week. So we built a fantastic women's apparel business. We have a few really cool collaborations that we're doing. Coca-Cola. We have a Tommy announcement coming up in sport. We announced DKNY Sport for NFL and NBA, and baseball and hockey. So it's just we're just evolving it and doing a lot of fun things. But just being opportunistic, finding the the areas in the marketplace where there are opportunities, and not just doing the same thing over and over again, because the licensing landscape gets crowded, and there's a lot of what I call me too's. So they'll look at what you're doing, change it a
Mm.
little bit, and put it out there. And so for me, my challenge is to always stay ahead of competition, to always be more innovative in what I do, so that there's not a lot of sameness in the market. Because when you get sameness in the market, the retailer goes to the lowest price. And for me, I pride myself on being able to make product for every tier of distribution, whether it's Walmart or Saks Fifth Avenue. I'll have product there, but you're going to find the best quality at any price point in all of my products.
So, Carl, that was good. There were so many nuggets in what you just said.
Now, I just kept
Um,
going. You should have stopped me so I could
no,
chop it.
because I was taking it all. I should have been writing notes, but there was so many different things within that you said. Going back to talking about how you went to the NFL and you said, this is what you wanted to do. What was that approach like for you? Did you have to do a presentation? And what approach do you tell someone else who wants to do something similar? What what method
Well,
should they take?
so the steps that you take is, number one, is defining what you want to do, right? A lot of people say they want to be in this business, right? But what do you want to do? Once you find out what you want to do, then you got to look at the market. Is there an opportunity for you to do that? Is there a door open? Is there a point of differentiation? So if you're just doing a graphic T-shirt with um, a slogan on it, everybody does it. Your slogan's dead, through a cycle, and it's nothing wrong with that. But if you want a sustainable business, you got to find a point of differentiation. Um, Once you find your market opportunity, then you've got to find a way to get in. Now, if you want to do it on a smaller scale to build, as I say, build your resume, that's not a bad thing, because having your own track record makes it more attractive to the partners that you want to be in business with, or the retailer that you want to be in business with. Because number one, you understand your product, you understand the market, and you understand that there is an opportunity to enter the marketplace and generate a business for yourself. Um, and then when it's time to scale your business, it's the same approach. But having some level of a track record certainly helps you. But you can't come to someone with an idea and there's no opportunity. There are a lot of big companies that take on different brands for different reasons. I don't think any of them take it on if they don't think it's going to be a point of differentiation or have some level of success. So, when you're passionate about this industry, you've got to do a little bit of homework. You've got to be prepared for success. And you've got to understand where your opportunities are. You got to understand where your networks are, because um, my business grew because I had a partner who was in the label business, tags and label, hang tags and labels, right? He walked in every door in the industry. So he helped me navigate where my opportunities were, and people that I should avoid that only wanted to take advantage of what I'm doing. I'm not going to have a Mike Pence moment. I got a fly in here. I got a mosquito or something here. I'm not having that.
But see, that's the difference. That's the difference right
Yeah.
there.
So finding someone that can benefit from what you do is equally as important. Got it. Okay.
See, that's the difference right there. So, Carl, talking about that, you got to that point, you needed well, they told you, if I understood correctly, that you needed a partner. Talk about
They
that for a
told me I
second.
needed to scale my business.
Okay. Okay.
So I got to on my own, about $5 million in sales. And the NFL saw that there was a major opportunity. So before they let somebody else in to take my idea, because they told me, look, there are some other people, now that you're doing this and you've pretty much created a market, there are other people, other companies that want to come in and do this. We do not want to push you out. We can't tell you we're not going to let somebody else in, but we want you to find a partner so you can scale your business. For me, it was another great opportunity, because I knew how hard it was to make leather jackets in different team colors. So inviting competition, the only thing that would set me back is my inability to grow my business. So if I could compete in terms of volume, there was no way that I would be outsold, because for those folks, if they're building a leather jacket business, it's probably going to be one SKU across 32 teams. So if I walked into JCPenney and my competition was there, he had one rack with one jacket in 32 teams. I had 4 rolling racks with 5 jackets per team, different colorways. So I wanted to make sure that in the market, if JCPenney had one style, Macy's would have another style, Foot Locker would have another style. So I would have enough style so that it wouldn't be the same jacket throughout the marketplace. So my biggest challenge was to make sure that I could scale my business, and G3 gave me the ability to do that. So when they told me I needed to find a partner, or I needed to grow my business, it was good, because it told me that, my idea was valid, but they also told me they didn't want to leave me behind if I could do this, because competition was coming in. Now, they would have been fine with a niche business of 5 million if somebody else could do 20 million. I wanted to be that $100 million licensee for them. So, having G3 as a partner gave me the ability to grow my business beyond what the other people were willing to do, because their factories were not going to be bothered with outerwear at the level that we were doing it.
So for someone now, I mean, hey, I was the person who wanted to be in fashion and wasn't able to be in it. That's why I started this nonprofit. So there's different levels that we're speaking with. Yeah, I wanted to, I wanted to be a model. And growing up in the South, single parent home, there were times when we had financial challenges. And one of the times was when I went to my mother and said, "Hey, can I go to Barbizon?" And she had to say no. So I started this nonprofit because I know that there are many other other people, excuse my grammar, who are in similar situations. Not only that, there are other people who are trying and don't have the information. They don't have the access to people like you who can educate them along the way. They don't
Hmm.
have access to the education, they don't have access to the funding, the distributorship. So that's how this organization was born. So with that said, because I think you touched on that a few minutes ago too, about people who want to start a business. But first, before we go there, any individual, you were making 5 million. To me, that sounds phenomenal. But when should someone be focused on scaling their business? What do they need to be thinking about to scale, especially in looking for a partner?
Well, if you're getting into business, you've got to think big picture. You've got to want to have a big business, right?
Right.
If you're doing it just for friends and family, then you're probably better off just doing something else and having that as a hobby. But if you're in the fashion
Again.
business, if you're not dreaming of doing something big, then you're really not in the fashion business. And you can
That's
define
good.
success. Um, I mean, you're basically a vendor, a small vendor. And so I got another one back. Okay, so I'm sorry, everybody.
You
Um,
because
but
you're
like,
killing
if
them.
you really have a vision, then see that vision through. And if you think small, then that's where you're going to stay. And there's a lot of frustration amongst a lot of talented people because they either think small, and now listen to this one, because I see it all the time, or they're intimidated by the prospect of growth. Now, what does that mean? I, I do a lot of work with young Black designers who are the most creative people you can imagine. But if you bring them into a corporate setting, it's almost they feel like they don't belong there, where it's exactly where they belong, whether it's as a freelancer or as a designer. They bring something to the table, but because you've spent a lot of time, and I have a young man, Patrick Campbell, spent a lot of time as a graffiti artist, right? But the most incredible freehand artist known to man. And his mother asked me to give him an internship. And I saw how good he was. And I said, boy, if you could train him to do it on computer and to create CADs, he would be phenomenal. So as a young intern, we give him projects and it would take a very long time for him to do it. And the reason being is because he just never really got the hang of the computer. So he would try to freehand everything and make it look like a computer CAD. And he was just that good. So I brought him into my office and I said, if you really want to do this, there's an opportunity. And he was frustrated. And it's like learning a foreign language sometimes because creativity comes here, right? Technology sometimes knocks your equilibrium off when you have to change your method of creativity. So we talked about it. I told him we put him in classes to learn Illustrator and everything else he needed. But the one thing that made him so comfortable is the pads that you can sketch, the computer sketch pads. So he could do everything he could do by freehand, and he could convert that in Illustrator, but he still had to learn Illustrator so that the program could pick up his line art and create it for him. And then as those two merged, his creativity never waned because he had I think it's called Waco Pad, I think it's called, where he could sketch out anything he wanted. And the computer, he learned Illustrator and how to make Illustrator detect his line art. And then from the line art, he could go in and then color it the way he wanted to. So he became great at what he did because he's my headwear designer, and he does so much more. And here's a kid who just drew pictures on while he was riding home back and forth from the city to Brooklyn on the train and coming back in showing me something he did while riding on the train. And as a young intern, I'm like, you're not going to go get lunch. You're not going to count hang tags and labels. You're going to learn how to take this and make a living for yourself. But the intimidation, back to the original point, the intimidation by some creatives in leaving a comfort zone and coming into an environment that they think won't appreciate them, respect them, or understand them is one of the biggest obstacles I see. But then, there is a place for creatives because you can walk into um, any major company and the creatives don't wear suits unless they're doing presentations. Most of the creatives, we got 27 floors of all of our brands. You go into any creative space, there's headphones, there's shorts, there's dreads, there's different hair color. It's you name it, right? But they have to get beyond that stigma of I don't fit within this environment, and I can only work this way. You can still work that way, and you can still fit in and have value to companies that could really use the creativity. So having a plan for yourself, understanding how you can scale your business, and it may be, I get inquiries all the time. Can I come and design a capsule for you? And yeah, come on in, let's talk about it, right? But the intimidation comes when you have production people that says, well, can you create a tech pack? Well, most of them can't, but it's not that hard. It's just calling out details. Like if you're designing something and you want a zipper to do a certain thing, then it's just writing down what you want that zipper to do. The people that do the production art, as long as they can interpret what you're trying to do, then you get a tech pack out of it, right? Technical designers are not always the most creative. Now, I have, very good friend of mine, and most people, if they're in this industry, will know the name Omar Jermaine. I've been blessed to have a friendship with him. He worked in-house for us. He's been, a freelancer. He's done just about everything. But anytime there's a major project, he's the guy I go to because he does it start to finish. He gets the vision. And he's just the most incredible designer, one of the best in this industry. And, for him, he's going to kill me for saying this, or his wife will anyway. He has the luxury and the skill set to work full time or not. Like he can go, and if someone wanted him, like Fat Farm wanted him to be the design director, he does it. And when he feels like he doesn't want to do it and he wants to do some other things for multiple different companies, he does that. And then, Russell brought him back for the JCPenney collection, and he was the design director for that entire look at JCPenney. And, when that was over, he's like, okay, hit me up if you got a project. I don't want to do little small things. And I wouldn't call him for it because he's so much better than that. But there's so many of those folks out there that if they could just, understand within their mindset that their creativity will travel beyond the bounds that they put around it. And then, a lot of guys will come in and ladies that'll come in and they'll look around and they'll be like, oh, I'm so much better than these people. And they are in a lot of
Do
instances.
you think, and this is my thought, but do you think that's because they haven't been afforded the opportunities to be in those spaces before, and that's why they're intimidated?
No, I don't think. When you say afforded the opportunities, there's two pieces to that. Yes, on a larger scale, I would say yes. On a
Okay.
smaller scale, have they put themselves out there as freelancers? Have they aligned themselves with people in the industry? And that's not a matter of being in the big rooms; it's in the small room, right? There are a lot of people that rep brands that knows somebody that knows somebody and say, yo, I got a dope designer. You should let him come in and do some stuff for you. And that's how it starts. And you give somebody a small project, because the one thing that I know from being in this business and building a business, that your folks in-house, they are not as exposed as some of the folks that are designing as freelancers, because they are in and out of different sectors of this market. They often know what's trending. They often create what's trending. And so to have somebody come in and look and say, I need to freshen up my ladies collection, take a look at this, create a capsule for me. And they'll come back and it's just phenomenal. And I have people that will sit in this office and they'll look at it and be like, wow, this is dope, right? And they're not intimidated. Their jobs are not in danger. They may have somebody that joins their team, but fresh perspectives are always needed. So if you're a young designer or old designer, find your points of entry by being intellectually curious, right? Ask around, find out who's the design director. Send a note. I get emails all the time. You know, social media is beautiful, right?
Yes, it is.
Brands are out there. They're all on social media. And you've got to be able to, you know, hit somebody up and say, hey, look, I'm a designer. Here's my work. Here's the other thing, though. You got to have some work, right?
That
Don't
was my
tell
next
me,
question. Thank you. No,
right.
how
Don't
should
tell
they
me
come?
you're dope and I can't see any of your work, you know, and then, you know, in terms of opportunity and exposure, I am part of an effort here internally, and I'm leading it, to do more in terms of creating opportunities for African Americans in this industry. But it's not just from a design standpoint. This industry offers a lot. You've got legal, you've got logistics, you've got marketing. There's so much. Like, marketing as I see it here and marketing as I see it on social media are two totally different animals. Why wouldn't I want to have a young mind that's a marketer, right? So what we're doing right now, we're partnering with Morehouse College
Nice.
to create opportunities in every sector of our business, from legal to accounting to finance, logistics, design. Wherever we touch, we want to be able to have a formative influence on those young men and women. And once we have the template set with Morehouse, we'll be doing it across HBCUs. And I think it's important when you want to be in fashion, just like what you're doing now, it's not necessarily being a model or being a designer or a brand owner. If you have another skill set and you're still interested in fashion, there are opportunities there. Being a merchandiser is very important. I mean, look, June Ambrose,
Yes.
right? What has she got going now with Puma? Like, she's heading up their whole vision for the world, right? Now, June has been talented and she's been dope for a long time, right? But June is the vision and the creative vision around a lot of what we saw in pop culture, right? So why wouldn't that apply in a corporate setting? You know what I mean? She had been doing that for a very long time. What we've seen in pop culture and how people are presented for us is in large part attributed to June Ambrose. Her influence on pop culture is just above and beyond what we really understand. And now, okay, she could continue to do that. She could be a merchandise. She could be whatever she wants, right? But Puma comes in and says, okay, we want you to head the entire vision for our brand. If that's not proof that it can be done, I don't know what it is. And we've got, so much and so many people that are so creative in their social media spaces that they can grow out of that. There are companies that, for instance, every company, including mine, can create great product, right? But as the retail landscape shrinks, their stores are going out of business left and right. How are you going to get your product out there, right? How are you going to sell your product? You better have a B2C model via your web or it's basically going to be your web. Some web component is going to be the way that you reach directly to customers, right? Now, how do you speak a language that the customer understands? Well, there are so many young kids out here that are creating messaging
Yeah.
that have our eyes glued to it, right? So, do you not think some company is going to say, hey, how do I reach this customer? And someone says, you need to check this guy out here on IG, or you need to check this group of girls out here on IG. They can come in and make something happen for you. I tell you, a pair, I think they're twins, Coco
Coco
and
and
Breezy.
Breezy.
Coco and Breezy, right?
Eyewear, yeah.
Like, incredible what they're doing, right? And they also, they have a bed and breakfast upstate New
Oh,
York
I didn't know.
also.
Wow.
Yeah, I just
Smart.
found that out. I'll be visiting that soon.
Smart.
But they're young entrepreneurs that, if you look at their creativity on their social platforms, you can see how branding and marketing is everything. And they're doing it themselves. They're great. They're very entertaining. But they're really good at creating the vision. And in this case, they're doing it for themselves. I'm sure they've worked with other brands as well, and creating that vision. And I'm very inspired by what they do. Another person that, he's like a brother to me, and if you ever follow him, is Ty Mopkins out of Detroit, right? We're doing a lot of collaborations with him with Starter, and he has been one of the biggest influences on the brand
Hmm.
um, that we've had. And he was a buyer at a store, but he was bigger than being a buyer because he had a hell of a vision. He's a great merchandiser. He's worked with us to just bring the starter vision and to be able to tell the starter stories
Hmm.
to people, and to have people make the emotional connection with the brand. And he's Detroit. Like, um, he is the guy. He is that influence, but his influence is beyond just Detroit, but just his ability to tell stories, to really connect the consumer with the product, and something emotional about that product as it relates to their experience, to their love for their city. Um, he's able to do that. Like, just, there are very few people who can do it, and I call it from mind to market. He thinks about it. We have these conversations. He says, this is what I want to do. This is what Detroit relates to. This is what the Midwest relates to. This is how you want to do it. And we let him build collections within Starter. And he respects and understands the legacy of the brand, which is important. But also, I respect that he has his finger on the pulse of the community,
Right.
right? So there's just so much. And, I can name person after person. Ronnie Fight is a very inspirational person to me. I love what he does. I love his aesthetic. I love the connections that he makes with his Kith brand. Pyre Moss is
Hmm.
another up and coming
Yeah.
African American who I just love his point of view. and he connects with pop culture. So, I mean, none of these people that I'm mentioning are nothing less than visionaries, but courageous visionaries, people who have the courage to put themselves out there with their vision, knowing that not everybody sees it, and I can have an opportunity to enter this market and scale my vision.
Well, speaking of courage, starter,
Mhm.
you took it on. Um, Looking at history, it filed bankruptcy, I think maybe once, made a couple of changes, switched hands a couple of times, cut the offerings, but you took it on and revived it.
Well, it was
That
in
was
Walmart.
it was, but you, if my understanding is correct, you actually breathed life back into it. What was your approach to doing that? And what do you
Um,
tell someone whose business right now might be, well, sportswear, and we'll come back to that in a second, who might be in limbo? What advice do you offer?
so the brand was in Walmart and it was completely discarded. Nike even owned it and gave it up, right? But I understood the legacy of the brand and what it meant in the marketplace. And the interesting thing about how I got the brand back is I was sitting with one of my designers, and as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, Starter um, was such a major part of pop culture and entertainment that Starter jackets were iconic in movies like
Oh
um,
yeah, you
Coming
have.
to America, right? You've seen Michael J. Fox in it. So I'm sitting with a designer and I said, you know what I want to do? I want to bring back some of the iconic moments that Starter played in entertainment. And the one moment I wanted to do was the Coming to America collection. And so I went to the NFL and said, listen, I don't know who owns the Starter brand, but I want to create this jacket that was in this movie. And because the IP, I think, is dead, I don't want somebody to come behind me and knock it off, right? So the folks at NFL said, well, we know who owns the intellectual property. It's in Walmart now, but the brand Iconics owns the intellectual property. I could facilitate a conversation. And so I said to NFL, if I can bring it back beyond this jacket, would you allow me to reintroduce it into sports? And they were like, the brand meant so much to NFL and to NBA and to hockey and to baseball. Nobody said no because nobody's done it at the level that Starter. So I made the deal with um, Iconics to get the license for the Starter brand. And I said, we've got to put a wall up. If you guys are going to continue to sell in Walmart, I have to delineate the brand. I said, it's no shame if the brand is in Walmart, but you won't see the sports in Walmart in Starter. You won't see anything that's part of the heritage of this brand in Walmart. So my sons, who at the time were teenagers, were big thrifters. They were buying, vintage apparel. And my son said to me, Dad, you should try to do this Starter piece because I had a lot of my old jackets were in the attic too. He said, why don't you try to get this brand? And I was like, because I was right in the middle of negotiations. So I'm like, are you listening to my conversations on the phone? He's like, no. So at that point, that cosign was all I needed to know that I was on the right track with the brand because like he wasn't even born when all my sons, all three, none of them were over 5 years old when Starter was in its heyday. So that said, I knew I had something. I just had to roll it out the right way. And we did it. We're doing it very carefully. We still um, do not want the brand to be overexposed in all the wrong places. So we're doing smart collaborations. The integrity of the product is very important. One of the things that I did early on is to make sure that the fabrications that Starter was known for, especially in that satin jacket, that one that you showed me, the Giants one, that satin jacket was unique. So we found the factory that did it back then, and that guy, his name is T.H. Chung. He still knew the factory in Korea. He still had all of the tech packs from back then. So we went to work with him and said, okay, let's get this done. But then on top of that, because I'm a big vintage shopper, I was collecting starter jackets. I have an entire library of just starter product. But one of the places I went was Mr. Throwback, downtown Lower East Side, right? And so when I got back into it, I sat with him 3 or 4 times just to make sure that the integrity of the product, of the new product, was right, because he was kind of an authority on that.
And was it Star that was on? I have a picture of it if it's right on Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep, yep. Eddie and Arsenio. That was that, and then on the we redid that one, and then we redid the Jets jacket, and actually Action Bronson redid it. We redid it with him also in the Coming to America shots. Yeah.
Incredible. So, talking about the sports industry, I mean, that's a $1.3 trillion industry. What do you say the secret sauce of the industry is, and what are you seeing right now with the onset of COVID in the demand?
Well, I think somebody just cut a vacuum cleaner on.
They're trying to clean you out of it. Tell them no.
Yeah, I don't want to leave this camera, but they need to stop.
We'll hurry.
I think the secret sauce to sports is that it crosses all sectors of society. Number one. Number two, it makes everybody feel good. It taps an emotion. I'm sorry, guys. I need to stop this.
Sure. You know what?
I'm
I'll
gonna,
put the video on of you from HSN. Go ahead, and then we'll see you in
okay.
just a second.
Yeah, I need to stop this.
Okay.
Had a set of parents that made sure we were well mannered, and the rest was up to me.
Well, perfect timing.
Well, it was a great video if you guys wanted to finish it. I'm Carl Banks. I played 12 for the New York Giants. I was a part of 2 winning Super Bowl championships with the Giants. I was so intimidated by New York City traffic that I thought I would get in New York and get lost and not find my way out for 2 or 3 days. So I would go into New York City at like 8 night, and I always ended up on Madison that window leather in the NFL. I found a market that wasn't being tapped. I approached the NFL, and I was still playing. And the NFL's like, okay, we'll allow you to do big and tall suede jackets only, right? It's a start. So I grew a business out of big and tall suede only jackets. And I went back to NFL and said, look, I did it. And they said, okay, we'll give you big and tall suede and leather jackets. I went for it. I've expanded it. And my business now has blossomed, but I'm not finished yet. You hear so many stories about football players struggling when they leave the game. But you have to reverse engineer your thinking from physical to mental. You have the requisite skills: win, lose, succeed, fail within 45 seconds. Then you got to get up and do it again. The ability to deal with adversity, discipline, problem solving, strategic thinking, instantaneous results. I just got to use my brain more than I use my brawn, and it doesn't hurt on Monday mornings. This is a pretty good life. I'm Carl Banks, and this is My American Dream.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I was telling you, I showed that with you earlier, but I'll tell anybody, don't you laugh at Carl. I'm from the South, and when I first moved here, I remember my legs were shaking when I got off the train. So I can totally identify with you there. But and Carl, thank you for this. This is really good. The time that you're sharing with us, this is so important. It's really important to young entrepreneurs, whatever level, aspiring, budding, emerging, even seasoned. You can always learn something. What do you say to right now is a challenging time. So with COVID, the onset, would you say this is a good time? I have one designer who he pivoted. Um, he was on the town hall, and now he's pivoting toward the sportswear to stay afloat. What encouragement do you offer during these times? Going back to what are you seeing during sportswear? Is this a good time to pivot to sportswear?
It's a good time to pivot, to take advantage of opportunities that exist. I mean, we've been locked away for a long time, right? And we're still not to normal where we can move in society the way we want. So, whatever your motto is, if you can't reach your consumer, your target consumer, via social platforms, then it's time for you to pivot, because people, if you can reach me just like you and I are talking, directly, um, you have an opportunity to tell your story directly to your customer. That was one of the things I learned early on, in my business, and I still do a lot of work now with Home Shopping Network and also QVC now, is that when you're selling your product, I'm talking to the person who's sitting on their couch. They can't touch it, they can't stretch it, they can't try it on. So they have to trust that what I'm telling them is what they're going to get when they open that package, right? So you learn to articulate your vision, you learn to articulate what that product is, in a way that people anticipate having it and trust that that's what they're going to get from you. So if you are in this business right now and your whole model was based on selling in brick and mortar, change it, shift it, right? If you also see that there's a certain category of your business that is not as relevant, either be a climate. If I'm doing outerwear now, I'm not selling shearling coats. I'm selling transitional coats because the weather, does not link up with the buying seasons anymore. You know what I mean? If you're doing heavyweight jackets and you're not in probably 4 states in this country, then by the time it gets cold, it's February. And guess what? If you're a retailer, you're not buying outerwear for the first time in February. And if you bought it in July, August, September, it's been sitting because it hasn't been cold enough for anybody to buy it, right? So if you can speak directly to people with your product, you got a better chance of selling it. But also, you got to be able to shift into some lighter weight things just based on climate, because the buying calendar no longer syncs up with certain products. And yes, if you want to be in the sportswear, you got a longer selling season now than you ever had because it doesn't get cold until late July. It might not even, you might not get your first, I mean, into late December, you might not get your first snow in certain areas of the country until mid-January. So if you're doing sportswear and the temperatures are in the 50s in December or in the 40s in December, then you're selling a lot of good stuff that people will continue to buy. And they're not looking, and people are not buying coats until they go on sale. And stores are not even looking at coats anymore, heavyweight coats anymore, unless they have stores in the Midwest, because it's just the weather is not conducive and it doesn't make economic sense for a store to say, okay, my buying calendar says fall, winter is July and ending in September. Well, no, because if I buy heavyweight coats in September and I probably won't see any sell-throughs until February, then somebody's going to be out of a job because it's just not cold enough. And customers are looking for jackets at the end of the season when it's getting cold anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So sportswear is a great pivot for somebody who's in the market because they can sell it for a longer time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, find a way to speak directly to your customer base. Because retailers you can no longer rely on as your marketing partner. They're asking you to do all the work anyway to drive people into their store. So in some instances, it makes sense. In others, in the majority of them, it doesn't. Why are you driving, especially if you're a small entrepreneur and your dream was to get into a Macy's, then defer that dream and talk to your customer first. Because once you get in Macy's, they're going to want you to send your fan base into their store. Well, yeah, they can write you a nice order, but that order comes back if those goods don't sell. And if you're not built for that, then my suggestion is if you're a strong marketer, you talk to your customer, you sell your products. And then when you have enough of that built up, maybe you can augment your direct sales with retail sales also, so that more people can be exposed to your product. But if you have the ability to talk, and you need to develop that ability to talk directly to customers through your platforms, it's a great place to be in society right now, because we just don't have the ability to interact as we used to.
Mm. So, and I would love to talk to you all night, but I know you are a busy president. So I have one more question for you. And at the same time, while I'm asking this question to Carl, if anyone has any questions, feel free to send them in and I'll try to quickly ask them to Carl for you. Carl, I do want to mention we're going to be hosting on March 26th, Friday, March 26th of 2021, a career day. So I'll talk with you about that later. Hopefully, maybe you will come back. It's Black Fashion Career Day. You all, this audience is the first to know about it. So it's coming along. I'm lining up the speakers now. You've had a good bit of success with licensing deals. If you had to teach a class, a course on licensing, what subjects would you cover in that course?
Well, that's changed since we were in a pandemic, because licensing in the time of pandemic was pretty much a renegotiation of everything.
Wow, talk about that.
Because retailers were closed, licensors, you had guarantees that you had to pay the licensors. They were expecting them. If you didn't bring it up, they were expecting you to pay it. But everything is a renegotiation. But if I had to talk about licensing, is understanding the value of the brand that you want to license, have a core competency of something you want to license. Again, brands don't need another hat or another t-shirt. They need a different hat in a different shirt. But if it's the same thing with a different graphic, they could just hire you as a graphic designer and, put a new twist on an old item. So if you want to license a product, if you have a core competency, that's what licensors want. They want to know that you will be a great guardian for their brand, but also you're going to take that brand to places that they weren't able to get to.
In a nutshell. Okay, this is going very good. I want to share a couple of comments with you. Fashion Coffee said, I love that advice. Don't think small. Let me see. Dale said, the whole thing about retail and selling winter coats is really good. Thank you for that. Carl Banks, this has been so good. Do you have any closing comments? Any advice for our young Black designers?
So I would close with just a simple phrase that I've used many times when I talk to young entrepreneurs, is that success comes through you, not to you.
That's good. I do have a question for you. Fashion Coffee says, what distributors would you suggest from New York or New Jersey that will not give you what everyone else has?
What are you looking for? That's the question I would have. Like, are you looking for retailers? Or are you looking for someone to distribute your product? You have to know what you're looking for. I mean, when I see the word distributor, is it someone who's going to distribute your product, or you're thinking retail? They're going to give you something that no one else has? Well, it depends on what you're looking for.
Okay. I know there's a bit
And
of
also,
a delay.
let me just say this too. If any of you guys have questions beyond this, my social platforms are both the same on Instagram and Twitter. It's Carl Banks, GIII.
And she says to distribute product.
Okay, so it's probably a conversation we should have offline, or you can DM me your ideas for the product, and maybe I can help. At least I can help you narrow your navigation so that you can find the right people to manufacture your product.
It says, okay. Carl Banks, this has been wonderful. Thank you so very much. All right. Well, we will sign off tonight. Have a good night, everyone. Carl, do you want to share any information real quick again so they can make sure that they have it?
Well, yeah, my socials are both the same. Carl Banks, GIII. Be on the lookout for some fun stuff that we're doing with Hilfiger. I have the Michael Strahan collection that's just incredible. You can see it on Home Shopping Network and QVC. It's when you talk about athleisure for men, he's taken it to a whole nother level. It's very elevated.
Oh, I might have to try to put some of it on.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like, women have always had different, yoga outfits and things of that nature. But, his philosophy is to be able to wear an outfit that you put on during the early part of your day, and you can finish your day in it. He's got the items in his collection that'll allow you to do that. Yeah.
Oh, that is incredible. And that is by Carl Banks Sportswear. Is that right?
No, that's I'm just a partner in manufacturing partner. It's Michael MSX by Michael Strahan for NFL. So if you go to Home Shopping Network or QVC, or and even Fanatics, I think is launching it soon, if it's not already on there. But it's MSX by Michael Strahan for NFL.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all for viewing, and thank you again, Carl Banks, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you.